This video is for whales and dolphins, and it's for you, because you are just like me. Average Luck Gamer here, but today I need the whales and dolphins to stay, because I'm coming in hot and I need you to understand that we don't need to overspend in Zenless Zone Zero. Now, I'll temper what I'm going to say by saying that this is my own opinion. If you want to spend anyways, then you do you, but the ideal way to play these games is to maybe spend a small amount on the parts that are actually worth it. Support the game, just do it more sustainably, and I'll talk about how later in the video. The reason that I'm coming in hot is because I've heard some pretty wild takes within the community and I want to address it. That wild take is you have to get character's signature weapon, specifically Zhu Yuan's. Now, saying you have to get a character's weapon is irresponsible. I'm going to break down why. But I don't just want to tell you about the difference, I'm going to show you. Here is a breakdown from Rudeus of Zhu Yuan's weapons. I'll leave it linked below. Now we can see there are certainly some differences, and as expected, her best weapon overall is her signature. This will almost always be true, as Hoyo designs characters to be played in a certain way, and they design weapons to amplify certain parts of a character's kit. But the Brimstone, which you can save for in the shop to guarantee and just get at some point over time because it's on the standard banner, is only about 2% worse on a standard rotation, and on a burst rotation, the A-rank Starlight engine is only about 5% worse. Just quickly to explain what they mean by a burst rotation is a damage dealing opportunity when you daze an enemy and unload with as much as you can to deal as much damage as possible. So that would include using up your shot shells, and if a weapon has a certain criteria to buff, then making sure you hit that. So for example, on the Starlight engine, it has an additional criteria asking you to either dodge or quick assist for an attack buff. So if you're not playing optimally and actually doing that, then that's why you'd end up down at that 12% lower than the signature figure. Now, when you're just dealing with smaller enemies, it's not a big deal, but if you want to skip out on extra damage because they'll die anyway, but if you have an elite enemy, then you'll need to make sure you're triggering all your bonuses, and in that situation, a 5% difference isn't looking too bad. Also, just anecdotally, I have Zhu Yuan, I've been running her with the Brimstone, and she's head and shoulders better than any other character that I have, and single-handedly carrying me through the Shield defense. And I was thinking about how much better she could be with her weapon, because I'm hearing all these recommendations to get her weapon. How much better can that actually make her? And the answer is, it's not much. As we can see from the calculations here, we can see that the Brimstone is barely any different to her signature, and the Starlight engine is only just below that. So just to double down on something I've said before, it is not worth it to specifically pull for a character's weapon. Moving on now though to economical responsibility, it's imperative that we consider how much real-life money we would have to spend to get ourselves a guaranteed signature weapon, if we're making those recommendations. So let's take my account as an example account. I've only spent polychrome on the limited character banner, as a good degenerate should, and I have about 5,000 to 6,000 polychrome on my account right now, which at 160 per pull gives me, I'm going to round up and say 6,000 gives me, again rounding up, is about 40 pulls. So that could get me the weapon, but you know that's not how we do things here, and it is more likely to not get me the weapon than to get me the weapon. And I'm not even completely free to play, so I have the monthly membership, so I would actually have less polys if I was a completely free-to-play player. But imagine my account is still a solid indication of the average player. So I need 40 more pulls for a 75% chance to get the weapon. But if I'm unlucky, which you should always plan for, I may need an additional 120 pulls from where I am to get that weapon. So if you're new to Hoyoverse games or Gacha games in general, you might come over to the shop and say, how much would that be? How much would I need? 120 pulls guarantees me the weapon, and 120 times 160 is 19,200. From where I am right now, I would need 19,200 polychrome, or monochrome that I can convert into polychrome, as monochrome is the premium currency that you buy from the shop. The highest cost item on the monochrome store is essentially £100. That's about $128 based on current conversion rates. And that's not an insignificant amount of money, and that only gives me about 13,000 monochrome, leaving me 6,000 short of the guarantee. So I could buy this and still not get the weapon, and have to come back and buy the £50 amount of monochrome to guarantee myself the character's signature weapon. £150, that's $193 to guarantee myself a JPEG with slightly higher numbers. Did you know that I could buy more than 20 Zhongli Oppai mousepads to give to every member of my family for that money? This is where I say that you, dear viewer, deserve better. And I know that I've lost sight of that too, and I'm sorry. Particularly in my last video, I got very excited about Zhu Yuan release, But my promise is that even though I will probably get excited about new characters moving forwards, I will always try and balance that better in the future. And yes, that means no more Mimi dubstep intros. I'll save them for the end, maybe. Now you can do what you want with your money, but you aren't going to look back on this game in a couple of years when you potentially stop playing and say, I'm so glad I spent £150 to get that character's weapon. If you spend £5 on the membership to enjoy while you play the game for a few months, then maybe you fall off playing, so you stop paying for the membership, and then maybe you come back when an exciting new character is coming and start up the membership again so you can pull for them. It's much more manageable than getting sucked into FOMO and feeling like you need to have everything. The way that gacha games are designed is predatory. They're designed to get you to spend as much money as they can. They put time limits on characters and weapons and events to make you feel like you're going to miss out. That's also why a game like Zenless Zero is giving away so many freebies at the start, because it gives you a taste of what it's like to have more pulls and resources so that you can feel an urge to keep getting those dopamine hits from pulling. Now, it might not sound too much like it right now, but I do enjoy Hoyo's games, and I'm loving Zenless Zero so far, and as a community, we should support it, but in moderation, so that the game itself can continue to thrive. £150 though for a weapon is too much. So here's my advice and outlook as an average luck gamer, and it's to plan your pulls assuming the worst and save for the characters that you want. Or if you just want to send a pull every time you have enough polychrome, you have to be okay with getting whatever you're going to get. Now, again, this is my opinion. It doesn't mean you have to do what I do, but if you're looking down the line at a character and thinking, damn, I'd be real upset if I missed out on them, then you should consider banking the polys now, rather than putting yourself in the position where you'd have to spend to get them. Now, you can still play and enjoy gachas without spending money at all. In terms of what is actually worth it in Zenless Zero though, well, as always, that's up to you. I think the internet membership getting you additional polys every day, totaling 3,000, is the only thing that is worth it if you're not completely free to play. The battle pass for twice the cost is a lower return on investment, but if you're filling it up and you can make use of the resources to build characters, etc., then it could be worth considering, but I'm staying away for now. Honestly though, I think if you tie yourself to a budget for the game and say, hey, I'm not going to spend any more than the internet membership or potentially internet and battle pass, then that's a smart play. You know what is free though? Liking and subscribing to this channel and hitting the bell to get notified when I upload. It really helps out small creators like me. Lastly, these characters and their weapons, they will come back. And when Zhu Yuan reruns, you'll have a bunch of pull saves. If you have built well and you want to do that extra 5% damage, then sure, pull a weapon. I'm not saying never pull a weapon, but characters are more valuable. They can unlock fun new playstyles, give you an entirely new team build, or unlock the potential in some of your existing characters. And my opinion is that the right play is building out your two teams first and then min-maxing once you're already in a good spot, and you just want to push for faster clear. And I've said it a few times, but this is my opinion, and you can still do as you please. And if you have a huge amount of disposable income, then you do you. But I wanted to respond to some of the things I've been hearing and really make my stance on it clear. So I'm sorry that this video was a little less funny and a little more raw. I just wanted to make my stance on this clear without loads of jokes. Normal service to resume on the next video in a few days. If you did like and sub, then may your pulls be blessed with above average luck. If you want to see my thoughts process on why I made the decision to skip Ellen, there'll be a video that pops up now for you to check out, but I'll spoil it a little and say that mostly that decision was driven by looking ahead and considering my options as a low spend player. Bye bye bye.